I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Zynaps.
Ooh.
Zynaps.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know which one it is. I thought it was Zynaps.
Yeah, I want to say Zynaps, but usually my instincts are wrong.
Zynaps sounds kind of cool too, though.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with a Z game.
No,
Yeah.
especially ZY back to back like that.
Yeah.
Now, if it would have been Zynaps and instead of an S, X, then you get ZY and X.
See, then that's too cool for school right there.
You've gone over the line.
Yeah.
Aaron, this is a shooter. I want to talk to you about shooters because
right.
you've played a few in your time.
I have played a few, yeah.
What in your mind makes a good shooter?
Well, for me or for the general public?
I'm talking about for you.
For me, it has to be sort of easy. Listen, I like rockin' tunes in there. Like, I like a ship that's not pathetic, that you can build up to not be so crappy. You know, like I like.
So you like games when you pick up a power-up and add stuff to your ship?
I do. Although I do like a game like Phoenix is a great game where I like games that have shields or a gimmick. Alcon, you know, that's got a cool gimmick in it. But then again, I like even like Galaga, which is a perennial favorite. There's a gimmick, get the double ship, so that's cool. I think I like. Do you like vertical or horizontal shooters better?
I prefer vertical.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think I do too. Although I do like a lot of.
I'll tell you why.
Of horizontal ones.
The reason why is because too many horizontal shooters are flying in a confined space, so you don't have the full range of the screen.
Yeah, well, that's true. I will say, back in the old days, I was a big fan of Super Cobra and Scramble. The old flying bomb.
Right.
And this game has some elements of that, and that's kind of fun. So I kind of like that. So I think I like vertical better too, but there's some horizontal ones that I really enjoy. But I'm not the most talented shoot 'em up guy.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with almost everything you said. I like games where you start out with a normal ship and then you can build it up. I don't like games where you lose everything when you die, though.
Oh, yeah. That's tough. And that seems to be or another one I hate is when you have to start all the way at the beginning of the level.
Right. Give me checkpoints.
Yeah.
And let me lose tick me down one notch, but don't make me start from the bare.
There's a lot of games, and if you get killed at a certain point, you're boned. Like Alcon's a good example. If you get to a certain level and you don't have all your stuff, you're screwed.
Right.
Get
You
mauled.
just physically can't get by it. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this week's game, a horizontally scrolling shooter, Zynaps.
Yep, Zynaps. Now I'm going to go on the assumption that every week that you have it, but I'm assuming you had never played this one.
I've never played this one.
So this one came out in '87, and it was published by the Hewson Consultants Limited. Now,
the name Hewson sounds familiar. Like maybe we've played another Hewson game before.
If we have, I don't know about it.
It didn't come up.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fellows that worked on this, though, they are an elite group, I'd say, at least some of them. The game was designed by Dominic Robinson, John Cummings, and the code was done by Robinson, Cummings, and a fellow named Michael Croucher. The graphics were done by those Cummings, Robinson, and Stephen Crow. And Stephen Crow is a man of some renown, and Mark K. Jones.
Was he in the Black Crows?
No, he was not, but he's I'll get to it. Sound and music in this, Steve Turner, J. Dave Rogers, Kevin Grieve, and Nigel Grieve. So I looked up some of these guys to see what they'd done. John Cummings worked on, it's funny how these games pop back into our playfield, and luckily we know a lot of this stuff. He worked on Flying Shark. Remember that?
That was a game I don't think I ever played. I've just heard about.
Yeah, we talked about this on the Amigos a long time ago. Super Off-Road, Iron Man Stewart, Super Off-Road, and Rainbow Islands. Dominic Robinson worked on Anarchy, Flying Shark. These are all ZX games. Star Tip 1. Tim Follin's music, Uridium and Uridium Plus. Well, we've talked about Uridium. And Stephen J. Crow has worked on a bunch of stuff. Laser Snaker, Factory Breakout, Wizard's Lair, Starquake, which is a game that I've heard quite a bit about. Fire Lord, Uridium and Uridium Plus, Eliminator, Heavy Metal, and he was elected. He won Best Programmer of the Year in 1986, and he also works at Blizzard. And he also worked on the Earthworm Jim series.
Huh.
Steve Turner, just to get into what he got up to, worked on Astro Clone, Avalon, Quasitron, which again we looked at. John Phillips worked on Eliminator, Impossible. I like that game, and Nebulous. Now I found an interview here with Dominic Robinson, just a couple highlights of it. I thought this was neat because I don't think I've never heard this. He got his start. They asked him where he got his start in programming. He started programming on calculators. That's where he got his. And that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
The first game he ever worked on, he converted Uridium to the Spectrum, which Uridium was a real big game on the C64.
Yeah, I don't know that I've played that one. Is that another shooter?
I know. I think me and Brent played it. I'm not sure you played it. Yeah. He said that Andrew Henson, which I'm assuming is the guy from the
Henson Software
Henson
Associates
Consultants group there, told him. He came up to him and he said, "Write me a horizontal scrolling shoot 'em up." And he's like, "All right." And so he wrote this, and according to him, they wrote this game in 5 months.
Holy cow!
They knocked it out.
Yeah.
So there you go. So let's talk about the game. I should mention this debuted at a price of almost £8, £7.95 piece. So this is a little more expensive than what we usually cover.
I think that this is a normal game for the Spectrum.
So this is not a budget title,
release.
And this did work on the 48K. So
48 and 128.
Oh yeah, but I mean, yeah, right, exactly, and going up. So what is this game? This is, like Boat said, it's a horizontal shooter. When it comes up, it's got a cool load screen. I thought it was an attractive load screen. And when it comes up, you get cool music. I thought the music was, again, we often talk about the sound that you would expect on the ZX Spectrum.
Well, again, it's the difference between a 128 and a 48K system.
Yeah.
The 128 has a song, the 48K doesn't have the song.
Yeah, I thought it sounded good. I played it on the 128 emulator. So the game is a horizontal shooter. You play, and it's the plot's this usual crap. So you play a ship, you're flying left to right, and you're trying to avoid bad guys, and you're trying to avoid running into the walls. Pretty standard stuff. But this game has a gimmick. I know I've heard of this gimmick before, but I couldn't place it. When you blow up a bad guy in this game, they leave behind this like pulsating dot.
Orb.
Yeah, orb is better than dot. And you run over this thing. Now, if you run over it, that's fine. But if you run over it while you're holding down your button, you've got what's called a fuel scoop, and you'll suck this thing up. And when you get enough of this stuff, you will upgrade your systems in your ship. And that's awesome. That little gimmick makes this game great. Now I got to tell you, I started out playing this, and I was not good at it, and I was not very impressed. I didn't know what I was doing. I had to go get the docs to read because I didn't know the gimmick. Did you know it right away?
Well, no, I had to. I read the instructions before I start playing, so we differ in that way.
Yeah. That was probably the way to go in this one. I mean, but you look at this game, you don't think about that. And I was hitting space bar, and so I'm like, where's the gimmick? Well, I didn't know. Once you hold your button down long enough, your ship sort of starts changing colors. That's when you know you're in fuel scoop mode.
Right.
Now, what does that do? Well, it changes the entire dynamic of the game, and it does that in ways you wouldn't expect. When you kill these guys and they leave the orb, you've got to make sure that you kill them in a place that you can get to. Sometimes you can shoot guys and they're in an obstacle. You can't get to the orb. Sometimes they're too close to one side of the screen or the other. You can't get to the orb. Sometimes you don't shoot enough of the group to even get the orb to come up.
Right. Yeah. So the challenge comes just as much of destroying them as figuring out where in their pattern you need to shoot them so you can get that orb.
That's right. Something else that you have to consider is when you're playing the game and you see orbs standing around. You might have 2, 3, 4 orbs on the screen. You're licking your chops. The problem is, when you're scooping these orbs, you get shoot.
Yeah. So you're vulnerable.
And that is another aspect of the game that makes it lots of fun because you've got to make sure you're clear.
What this game does is it presents the player with choice. And that is not common in these types of games. I mean, in most of these types of games, you're just trying to get from point A to point B, killing enemies and not dying. Right. This game makes you think a little.
That's right. I like the fact that the weapons they're pretty diverse. I like my personal favorite weapon was, and we were just talking about Super Cobra. Is this bit where you will drop bombs? There's a bit where a reticle kind of comes out and it targets stuff, and once you've targeted it, sort of you'll automatically shoot it.
Right.
That's pretty handy. You're going to need these additional weapons because the bad guys in this are actually. This is an interesting game. We've played some of these shooters on the Specky, and they remind me like the Blood Money, sort of that just the guys come out and do it. They come out in a pad and go, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And this one has some of that, but it's also got some pretty aggressive, smarter guys. Like the different types of characters act in a different way.
I'm not sure if any of the bad guys actually track your movements in this game, but they definitely there are varying patterns that are interesting that they appear in.
Yeah, they'll charge. Like for example, sometimes they'll charge forward right at you.
Right.
Sometimes they'll go off to the sides and they'll shoot diagonally, and their shots will cross, and it's whoever came up with the way these guys fly. They knew how to screw with you, and they're very good at that. Now, there are multiple worlds in this. You've got and I thought these are kind of neat. You've sort of got the opening world where you just kind of fly into these sort of like, I don't know, generic tunnels in space. Then the second world is like you're going through like an asteroid field, which was pretty cool. Then you've got like a bubble world where there are like bubbles and stuff everywhere. Then you've got these sort of like oasis, like little like islands, like desert islands up in the sky.
Right.
You've got that, and there seems like there's another one. I'm trying to think of what it is off the top of my head. I never got to these worlds. I cheated at this game early and often.
Yeah,
I still couldn't get all the way past the second level. I got past the second level. I couldn't get past the bubble level.
You know, it's funny. One of the things that I love about the Sinclair with the emulator, I'm not sure how one did this on the real machine, but if you go on World of Spectrum, there are all these poke commands, and you just enter a series of numbers. Oh yeah, that's how I cheat.
Oh man, I've never done it that way. That's a good idea. I just use save states. The color clash on this is practically, you probably won't even notice it. I mean, it's there.
Well, most enemies are single color.
Yeah.
And then like the things that are multicolored are there. It's more like a gradient sort of thing.
Yeah. We should mention at the end of the levels are end bosses. Now I will say that one of the things I didn't like about the end bosses is that at least the couple that I fought, there's no one to know how you're doing.
Yeah.
They don't even make a noise or even flash or anything.
That's the downfall of this game. It kind of reminds me of Hybris, how the scenery looks great. The enemies, the attack patterns are all wonderful, but when it comes to the bosses are kind of a letdown. They're large sprites, but they don't animate particularly well. They just sort of hover about and fire at you at a greater clip than the normal enemies.
They're big old enemies, and I like the fact that like an Alcon, you'll fight some for a while and they'll leave, but you'll see them later. They'll be coming back around. And which is I always think that's kind of a neat thing, adds a little bit to it. But I did notice that the game's the hit detection is not the best. To be completely honest with you, I think normally if I get beat, I'm mad. I'm not, but it happens. But if the shots are somewhere close, you almost always die.
Right.
And I mean, you can be darn sure you're not shot, and you still get killed.
Right. Now, one of the things that we should mention about the boss that is really genius, because the Spectrum can't really support a boss meter. You know, like in a modern game, when you get to the boss, there'll be a meter that pops out of the screen with the health. And beat 'em ups and things you'll have, they'll start to flash red when they're there. But what this game does, just to let you know that you're hitting this, because the bosses are the only enemies in the game that are more than one hit, they do change color, and they basically go through the entire spectrum.
The first boss, I don't remember him. I only got to the second boss. I don't remember them changing color.
I don't remember that either, but I'm looking at it now on the video, so maybe it's only the later bosses that do that. But what a cool thing to do, to let the player know that you're actually doing something.
It's something needs to be done, because I couldn't tell I wasn't even sure I was even hurting him until he blew up. So this game has redefinable keys, and now, believe it or not, Boat, and I never did, but I actually played this one with a stick.
I'm glad you're finally entering the century of the joystick.
Listen, this right here is a tough get.
You're going to have so much more fun now that you've left.
Well, no, I mean, I've always had the ability to use a stick. I just usually don't.
It's like I like to play with my feet just because I can.
Well, give me a break. It's not that bad. So overall, I think this is easily the best shoot 'em up we've played on the system. I mean, I think this is far and away my favorite. It's got diverse stages. They're different looking. There's a ton of different enemies. There's different weapons. There's cool sound. I mean, I wish the sound for your ship's firing was a little cooler, but it's okay. But I don't think it doesn't feel as robotic as some of the others we play where the guys just coming. To me, I know they are sort of coming out and doing their little shades, but they felt better. They're not coming out and doing curly cues and stuff. I mean, they're more aggressive a lot of times, and they do different stuff that I enjoy.
I'll tell you, I don't know how they're going to get much better than this.
This is going to be tough to top.
Yeah, I can't.
Because this has even got it's got music, it's got everything.
I can't think of a way the Spectrum could make a better shooter than this game. I did like, on the HUD, you've got a little bit of a HUD that's got, you've got these rotating, kind of looks like something off the original Star Trek series where it's just like a rotating helix for no reason at all, but it just looks cool.
You got some gimmicks at the bottom of the screen, but they do tell you what weapon you're coming up on.
It's great. You've got your number of lives at the bottom. The screen is actually very useful. I mean, it's not just window dressing.
It looks cool too.
Yeah,
it does look cool. And so you bought the fuel scoop gimmick. You were down with that.
Oh yeah, I thought it was great.
That made the game
because it makes, like I said, it makes you think in a way that other games don't. Because other games you just pick up the power up and you go. This game is like, well, I can pick it up. There's a bunch of monsters coming, so I'm going to be vulnerable. And should I do it or not?
Now this game is hard. I will say something else too. I noticed. I had to aggressively hit the fire button.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, so aggressive with it, I got tired.
Mm-hmm.
Really, if you've got the ability to turn on auto fire, the problem is if you have that, you're boning yourself on the scoop.
Were you using that ergo stick?
No, actually, I was not.
Okay,
no.
I was going to say, because that's the one downfall, either that or the Epics, is using your, squeezing the trigger multiple times. That's no good after a while. I was using my monster stick, and I was having a blast just going to town with it.
It's sort of what would be nice if you could set up two buttons, one to be rapid fire and one to just be normal.
That would be nice.
And that way you could use the one that's normal to do your scooping.
Mm-hmm.
Because you rapid fire, you means your bone. And I will say, until I knew about the scoop, this game I was like, what is I can't do anything. I'm horrible, and it's not an easy game, is it?
No, no. I mean, I couldn't make it past the second stage without cheating.
It's pretty tough. It did not have it, as far as I could tell. It didn't have any skill levels, both that I saw. According to what I read here, there are 450 screens this thing scrolls through, which that's kind of neat. So this was a pretty popular game. The World of Spectrum, which I love those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they say we're a tale every week. Gave the readers over there gave this, and this had a ton of votes, 251 votes, which is a lot. 8.46.
Pretty good.
So it wasn't just us. Crash gave this a 91. Sinclair Music gave it 100. And the quote from them, "That's about it, really. This is the game your joystick was designed for."
Wow.
I love that. Here's some new ones for us. The Happy Computer, 82. The German outfit called ASM gave it an 80, and Computer and Video Games gave this an 80 as well. I don't know how you give us an 80. You've got to be out of your mind because we don't have much to judge it by, so maybe that's what it is. But to me, this seems like it's at the top of the heap, because you get a little bit of your scrolling action shoot 'em up. You get a little bit of your Super Cobra going. You get a little bit of your lock on. You get some different game variations. Tippity top, and by the way, it also has a high score table, so it's a bang bang operation. One last item: the eBay has this tape. Complete box, whole 9 yards. If you're in the UK, you can get this for under $10.
That's an incredible deal. I'd love to have a copy of this because I love it so much. This is definitely my favorite shooter on the Spectrum.
Absolutely.
No question.
So this one passed fresh in your drink, governor. More tea,
Reverend. So anyway, we got some people to thank, Aaron. Some people that make this show happen every single week. I want to thank our Patreon supporters, our Spectrum supporters, Laurent Giroux, Gary Heather, Eric Nelson, Harbo Knott, Graham Vebke, Frodo NL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, Chris Folds, Bossman Harrington, and Christopher Hassel. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. And I also want to do some user reviews. We did get some user reviews. Let's check them out real quick. And our internet is currently down, so we will not be able to get to those. So more fun from the West Virginian ISP.
This is what happens when you run your internet with a hamster and a wheel.
Yeah.
So you must be tired. Feed that sucker.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to our user reviews this week, but we will be sure to be back with that next week. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back next Friday with a new show, and next weekend we're going to play one of the all-time classics.
Really?
It's finally time as we near the mid-year mark for Our Sinclair. We're going to play Ultimate Play the Game Zone Jetpack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That one we played. All right, that sounds great. I've been wanting to give it a whirl.
All right, guys. We'll see you then. Until next week, rewind tape.
And press play.